be sincere, wholehearted attempts at fixing the people's relationships. And that's at the heart of any leader's job. So, you know, we're getting nowhere fast, except more and more upset with the process. So what I'm hearing is we've got another process to go through. Sorry, I'm real worn out on that. Because that, you know, you need a consultant to tell you what the problem is. You're not believing what all your officers are telling you, what all the senior volunteers are telling you. You don't place any validity in that. I mean, that's my impression when you say you're going to hire a consultant is you need somebody to sort it out. I think it's pretty sorted already. Is my point.
Well, I just want to know what we're trying to accomplish with the mediator, because that says what your plan is for the chief with us, but what's your plan for you as a board with us? Because I feel a lot of this issue falls on you, the board. And if the board were more involved and were holding the chief more accountable, I don't know that we'd have gotten to this point. And so by being disengaged for the last however many years that we've been disengaged, this is now what's developed. And so, okay, so you say there's going to be a mediator between the chief and us. That's that issue. What are you as a board going to do to fix this? Are you guys going to all say, well, maybe we're not the right guys and you're going to resign, or where are we at? Well,
what I would like to have seen is what comes out of the attempt to work things out with you officers and the chief, if the processes can be implemented. And I'm going to go on the recommendation from that source. You know, just like Randy said, there's a lot going on here. Where do we start? Where do we start? And I
think we started 5 months ago. That's where we started.
Where do we start right now? Steve.
I still have not got an answer to my question, or the young man over there. I don't think he's got an answer. You know, I appreciate the fact that you're going to set up some sort of mediation program between the chief and the volunteers, officers and staff, you know, volunteer department. However, again, I'm asking, what is the board going to do to change their ways? Because I feel that in a lot of ways, the board is responsible for Gary's shortcomings. For instance, and I don't want to beat a lot of dead horses, I can find there's a whole herd of them. We spent, when I was on the board, I think it was close to over a year trying to come up with an evaluation form for Gary. Evaluation form was, the intent was a couple things. One is to tell him where he's at, to direct him in areas that he needed improvement, and to give him a roadmap of what you expected out of him. The very next month after I was off the board, which I was glad to be off the board, some individual decided that wasn't important enough. So now we're going to use the school boards. What, a year later? That is a board responsibility. You shirked that and just kind of pushed it off to the side. And there's a lot of community members, you know, that set off on the side, and it's kind of, this is typical of a lot of small communities. They don't come to the meetings. You have the meetings at 5 o'clock in the day. I've tried, you know, when I was on, you know, to change them to a later time so more people could be involved in the process, you know, more input from the community. As it is, the board has been working in a vacuum on so many issues. And as a community member and as a homeowner and a taxpayer and a father, you know, and a husband and hopefully a good citizen, you know, I'm perturbed that I can't expect anything out of this department because you guys, board members, have not set a standard, you know, to be expected out of this department. You haven't given the chief the tools, i.e., you know, an evaluation and a roadmap. You haven't given him much direction. You've disconnected from the volunteers. And look where we're at. You know, it's like if I fall down on the street, you know, and I call 911 and say, "Come help me," I don't really expect to see this department show up anymore. Because, you know, there's the issue about the retones. Well, how many times, and I pointed out to board members before I was off the board, look at the actual run log and read the damn dispatch thing. How many times does it say rescue is sitting on the pavement awaiting manpower? That stops the retone. Retone is to get help. You guys don't know about this. I know you know about it. I know Dennis knows about it, and I think you know about it. You weren't here at the time that issue was going on. Did you do anything about it? No. So you leave the public hanging out. I bet if you go back through the last 6 months, let's just pick 6 months, I bet you there'll be times when you'll find that Malala Fire can beat our rescue to a call. And the rescue's the first thing out on an EMS call. You know? So all you got is the poor duty dude, whether it be Gary or a duty officer, dealing with some sort of crisis. If you have a heart attack, what's the standard for living and surviving a heart attack without CPR or effective treatment? Answer me that, Mr. Chairman. Can you answer that question?
I cannot.
5 minutes. That's the American Red Cross standard. 5 minutes, cancel Christmas. You know, volunteers, departments across the country, you know, they take up 90% of the effort, you know, to provide service to the communities. They do one hell of a job with very little, you know, and it's understandable, you know, that there's going to be times that you can't get the rigs out the door. You're only going to have so many people because there's only so many dollars, only so many days in the week, there's only so much training time, there's only so many people available. But when you sit there and cover it up and allow it to happen, you know, that, oh, well, everything's all well and fine, then you guys are shirking your duties. You know? I mean, that's just one of many. And like Randy's been around 20 years associated with this department. There's others, Kathy Stevens, you know, her husband, you know, where's Tom Judd? You know, he's got like 20-something years on this. I started with Mark Carmen, you know, as a volunteer, and I loved it, you know. And I've been through this whole process, you know, over these years, watching back, you know, and watching this department, you know, grow and struggle and fall down and get back up and fall down, you know. And I hear the volunteers, you know. But part of the problem is you don't have things written down is because, you know, they come to me and they say, when I was on the board, well, it doesn't do any good. The board won't listen. And I would tell them, and there's probably some in the room where I'd point at the face and says, if you don't write it down, I can't do a damn thing about it. Well, you know, and they'd either be retaliation, you know, or they would get slapped by the board, you know, or board members, you know. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. At some point, you know, there ain't a mediator in the world, there ain't a negotiator in the world, there ain't a consultant. A consultant is just somebody who comes and tells you what time is on the clock that you pay, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, poor choice of words, but I mean, you know, it's shit or get off the pot time. You about ready to have a chief and no department. And what is the community going to have left? And it's your responsibility as the board chairman and your responsibilities as board members to fix it. Don't just say it's the chiefs and the volunteers the problem to solve. You guys got to look at what your responsibilities are. You guys got to start doing your jobs, looking at the not just the budget, but looking at the run sheets, finding out, and listening to these people with a true compassion that, hey, they're doing this for you for nothing. You know? And to ask them to do the things that they do for nothing and then poo-poo them, you know, they ain't going to stay around. That's why we've had so many, you know, resignations over the years. You know, damn good people, you know, that I've seen come and go. We were supposed to have an exit interview. How many times did that ever happen? Maybe once. That was a mandate from the board. One time maybe. Oh, they couldn't be found there. You know, maybe had the board been sticking to that, you know, and my fault too, you know, and holding people accountable that these things will happen, we'd have learned things, so we wouldn't be in the spot we're at now. And it's sad. And I feel sorry for Gary, because, you know, I don't blame Gary 100%. You know, Gary understands his own faults, and he tries. He's got a good heart. But I think the board has let him down, and the board has let the volunteers down. And it's become an issue with safety for the community. It becomes an issue of livability for the community. I've had people say, you know, what about living in Colton? I said, well, you're 60-something years old, and you've had a stroke, and your husband's had a heart attack. Don't move here. That's pretty bad when you got to tell somebody don't move into your community. Anybody else? My wife told me to shut up, but I couldn't say it. You know, I just couldn't say it or not.
Any other comments?
John, might I suggest that you change your idea instead of a